Hi, this is a Lucy Letby update. I'm going to respond to a few videos that are out there, and after that I'm going to talk about word salad and how that all plays out in the whole Lucy Letby case. So first up, Old School RN, that would be Old School Registered Nurse, her channel. She's got a video comparing the Lucy Letby case and the Beverley Allitt case, because obviously both nurses were accused of obviously purposely harming children and babies in their care, and she's talking about how the one case has led to things being inferred in the second case, and she talks about how they are different. And one really important distinction she makes is that it's about how Beverley Allitt was finally caught. This didn't happen in the hospital. I mean, eventually it did, but it didn't happen in the hospital like it did with Lucy Letby, doctors thinking, oh, something's up. They did think something was suspicious. She was suspended. But what happened was, while she was suspended, she stayed at a friend's mum's house with her friend. The friend had a child, and what happened was that child suddenly started getting bleach burns, and the bleach turned out to be in his clothes and on his bed, and then fires were being set as well. And this was serious. The friend reported it to the police, and then obviously this got fed back to the hospital. So what alerted people that Beverley Allitt was probably harming babies in the hospital was something that actually happened outside the hospital. So this is a completely different case in a lot of ways. Beverley Allitt, her suspicious circumstances were not just confined to the hospital. There were things going on outside before she became a nurse as well. So it was really good that this was actually highlighted. So then we move on to Richard Gill and Jabe, and I'm going to start with Jabe because that was the first video I saw, and this was the comparison of the tube dislodgements in the Panorama programs, because there was one obviously quite a while ago, and then there was this new one that's just come out, and he played some clips, and this was oh my god, like, just seriously, oh my god. So in the first one is quoted that there were around Lucy Letby was involved in around 50 shifts with the babies, and shift in that context has quite a specific meaning. So she was involved in around 50 shifts, and there were around 20 dislodgements during those 50 shifts. And that's where you get to the 40% dislodgement rate at the Liverpool Women's Hospital. then in the second clip from the Panorama programme, so the recent one, we're talking, they actually quote, she was involved in 11 shifts, and out of those 11 shifts, 4 tubes dislodged, and that is 36%. Now those are 2 completely different sets of figures, 2 completely different percentages. That is really quite astounding. And it was 11 shifts. I mean, first it was quoted as around 50 shifts. But when we're talking around 40%, that was the original quote, of tubes were dislodged on Lucy Letby's rounds. I don't know about you, but when I first heard that figure, I imagined that, I mean, I didn't know how much work Lucy Letby had done, so I assumed she'd looked after a lot of babies, maybe, you know, 100 babies during her time at the Liverpool Women's Hospital. So I thought this 40% figure must be a large amount of dislodgements. And I mean, by the time the whole question of the Liverpool Women's Hospital started coming up, I was already, you know, suspicious of the figures anyway, but I immediately imagined quite a lot of babies that she'd been looking after, and quite a lot of, let's say, reported or alleged dislodgements. So I don't know about you, I don't know about the general public at large, but a large figure came into my head, and I'm wondering if people would normally, you know, just think of a large figure, because it was between 2012 and 2015, I believe. So you would think of, you know, a nurse working with a lot of patients. So I wonder if that figure was thrown out to actually give that impression. I'm becoming very, very cynical about the information we're being given by the powers that be in the whole Lucy Letby case, given the way things have turned out. So Richard Gill talks actually more about this. So his video is a statistician's reaction to the 40% revelation, and this is one of his shorter videos. So I mean, I prefer the shorter videos myself, because, you know, I can watch quite a few, and you know, that suits me better. And so he talks more about this, and he mentions he does mention, by the by, also that he had offered his services and to the police, and was actually blocked by Jonathan Coffey, who was one of the reporters on that Panorama programme. So it seems that people are going with, you know, still going very much with a particular narrative, that is the set narrative. So he also mentions Dr. Bill Yoxall. This was the person who, you know, at Liverpool Women's Hospital, who threw out that 40% figure. Initially, this is the guy who has worked or is associated with Dr. Stephen Breary. So those two appear to be working together with all these figures. So now we move on to word salad. Quite a few people, including Tasha, Tea Break with Tasha High, have mentioned this. I believe Lucy Letby Analysis has mentioned this. We're talking about, particularly about Dewey Evans, and by the way, Professor Richard Wilson, you pronounce perfectly fine, and I like your videos as well. So we're talking about Dewey Evans particularly, and Dr. Jairam also, because they're forgetting things and remembering things, and they are quite flagrantly and arrogantly and contemptuously doing this. You know, they're not even hiding in plain sight, because I don't see anyone hiding. They're just putting it out there. They know it's BS. We know it's BS. They know that we know it's BS, and they just don't care, because they know they can say it. They can tell you the sky is pink, and there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. They can get away with this, and well, they know it. And word salad is kind of a bit of a narcissist trick. So, you know, say you actually catch your partner cheating, and you know that you come home and they're actually in bed with someone, and say, well, yeah, but I saw it with my own eyes. And they oh yeah, but like when I was feeding the cat, you know, that cat, and yeah, this has got nothing to do with the cat. Yeah, but you know, I was going shopping, and you know, like you always like corned beef sandwiches, la la la. You know, they'll say anything and everything. You know, someone knows that they've been caught out in a lie, or you suspect them, or whatever. And I'm sure we've all had that experience where someone starts basically spouting nonsense, and it's to deflect and to catch you off guard. And these two characters, they are spouting nonsense. Okay, they're lying, they're deflecting. It's very, very obvious. And what happens when someone starts doing that? I mean, the impulse is to argue with them and saying, no, come on, you're not being honest, you know you're lying, you know, and you try and get back on topic. And it's exactly like wrestling with a pig, because all that happens is you get dirty, and besides, the pig enjoys it. They're enjoying it, especially Dewey Evans, because every time he says something you know, every time he moves his lips, pretty much he's lying, and he's got that contemptuous grin. You know, that is an actual case of, is it Duchenne's delight, or, you know, when someone is caught out in a lie, but they're smiling because they know they've got one over on you. So obviously what happens is, when you're arguing, it just enables them even more. You're spending time pointing out their lies or trying to drag them back onto topic. This is like swimming against a riptide. All that's happening is you're getting more and more tired. You're getting pulled further out. You're not, you're never ever going to be able to get back. So, well, you know, it is important, actually, to put it out there, that, you know, these characters are BSing, and what they're BSing about. That actually is important, because it kind of creates a bit of a record, a bit of a trail. But we can't make them be honest, because they're not going to be honest. We can't make them behave properly. They're not going to behave properly. It's important that we notice and call it out, I think. But there's a certain point to which we have to kind of let ourselves float out and then swim parallel and get back to where we need to get back. So to a certain point, you know, it's kind of, yeah, I hear you, it's BS, you can la 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 over my head, and, you know, you be you, we'll be us, and so on. And that's probably, I think, the best way to go. So, yep, that is my Lucy Letby update for the day. So, yeah, please like, subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video.